Hello UFC employees, because at this point you're clearly watching my videos, especially a video I made 2 weeks ago roasting the UFC 279 Chimaev versus Diaz card to smithereens because of how terrible it was. I mean, that card this time last week was absolutely atrocious and I could barely bring myself to look at it. So I made a whole video on my channel roasting that card into oblivion because of how terrible it was and coming up with all of these different theories as to why the card was so bad. And maybe, just maybe, this is narcissistic of me to think and believe, but maybe, just maybe, my video stirred up enough backlash for them to get their ideas together and start adding some fights to that card. I already reacted to them adding on Tony Ferguson versus Li Jingliang. However, now, in my opinion, UFC 279 is saved because they have added yet another fight. Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez is a fight I'm going to go through on today's video and give an early prediction of, and also a breakdown as well. And plus, there's been a bunch of other fights that have been announced recently, either yesterday or today. I'm also going to break those ones down. The UFC's been announcing a lot of fights recently, and I respect them for it. And in my opinion, they have truly saved UFC 279 because, again, that card was seeming like an absolute sabotaged card by the UFC. It looked like they completely given up on it. It looked like they weren't going to try and fix it whatsoever. But now I'm looking at the card and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? Some of the matchups don't make sense, like Tony Ferguson versus Li Jingliang. I'm sure they could have found a better matchup for Tony Ferguson. However, if this is what it's going to be, this is what it's going to be, and I don't mind it. We've got Chimaev versus Diaz. We've got Johnny Walker versus Kutalaba, Tony Ferguson, Jingliang in the co-main event. Now we've got Kevin Holland versus Daniel Rodriguez. In my opinion, I first believed they were going to do Kevin Holland versus Stephen Thompson. It was revealed that that was their plan, but Stephen Thompson wasn't ready to fight so soon. So in steps Daniel Rodriguez, and I believe this is a really tough matchup for Kevin Holland. However, I'm going to pick him to win by KO in the first round. I believe activity is going to be a massive advantage here for Kevin Holland. I think Daniel Rodriguez stepping in on short notice. Listen, I've doubted him on short notice before against Kevin Lee, and I regretted that. I understand. However, this is Kevin Holland. This is a different level of Kevin in terms of danger on the feet especially. I don't see Daniel Rodriguez grappling with Kevin Holland here. And I can't help but notice that sometimes Daniel Rodriguez seems to have trouble with long-rangey strikers that play on the outside. And I feel as though, yes, his boxing's good. I don't see him KOing Kevin Holland in this fight. He doesn't seem to have much KO power. He's got one KO win over Preston Parsons and Dwight Grant after nearly being KO'd himself in that matchup against Dwight Grant, let's not forget. So he's not like a guy who's going to KO you every time. And I feel like, seeing as he hasn't been in the cage since August of last year, where he was really active up until that point, I don't think I'm going to trust him to get this one done against Kevin Holland, who's been incredibly active recently at the welterweight division. Maybe if he was coming down into welterweight and this was his first fight, his welcoming party back down to welterweight, then maybe I would have some problems with it. But he fought Alex Oliveira in March. Now he's fighting Tim Means in June, or he fought Tim Means in June. Now he's fighting Daniel Rodriguez in September. I believe he's going to get this one done. I think he's going to catch Daniel Rodriguez on the chin early on. D-Rod takes a little bit of time to settle into fights and get his groove going. And I think if Kevin Holland starts fast with his wild style and his reach advantage that he's going to have, I think he's going to give D-Rod a lot of problems. I mean, I guess I can see who people are picking. 65% Kevin Holland, 35% Daniel Rodriguez. I'm just glad that this fight got made because it's likely going to be on the press conference. And this is a good spotlight fight for both of them because it's guaranteed entertainment. And whoever wins, you've got a new guy coming up that you can put some weight behind because they are very marketable. I just truly believe that Kevin Holland's going to get this one done with his striking on the feet. Ease into it a bit more. He's used to the timing now at welterweight. He's been active recently. And I think D-Rod stepping in on 3 weeks' notice. It's different stepping in on 3 weeks' notice against Kevin Lee when you just fought Preston Parsons 4 weeks before that a couple weeks' notice call. You know what I'm saying? But now you're stepping in after being out for such a long time. He said he's been ready, but coming off a broken hand surgery, he's had to get surgery on it twice. He got a broken hand in his last fight against Kevin Lee, won the fight anyway, had to get surgery on it. tried to rush back into training after the surgery was done, broke it again, had to get it resurgeried, had to sit out for even longer. Now he's back again. I feel as though Kevin Holland's got the momentum here, and I think he's going to get it done. We've got Daniel Rodriguez, 74 inches of reach, compared to Kevin Holland, 81 inches of reach. I think that's going to give D-Rod a lot of problems in the boxing range, and I think Kevin Holland's very adept on the ground, and I don't see there being any problems for him in that department either. So I'm going to trust in Kevin Holland, his improvement. He's younger. Of course, D-Rod's 35. I think he's as good as he's going to be, and he's not going to have made any improvements with a broken hand, in my opinion, either. So we got a 29-year-old, healthy, fresh Kevin Holland, still on the come-up, still nowhere near his prime, and I think he's going to make a great performance here against Daniel Rodriguez. And then maybe if he's smart, call out Jeff Neal. He already has a win over him. I think it would be a great matchup for him as well. And he can use that win over Jeff Neal that he has on the regional scene at welterweight to get him leverage to say, hey, Jeff Neal, you're going to complain about wanting to fight top guys, but I beat you. Why not try and redeem it against me? So he's going to have some leverage there. I think that's what he should do next if he wins this one. But Kevin Holland, I see getting this one done against D-Rod. But there are other fights to make on the card. That is great, though. That has fixed the UFC 279 card, and it's now an acceptable pay-per-view. Main event, Chimaev Diaz. Co-main event, Li Jingliang, Tony Ferguson. Feature fight, Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez. Opener of the main card, Johnny Walker versus Ion Cutelaba. And Aldana versus Chasson. Who cares? But you could equally put Walker versus Cutelaba on the prelims and give some spice to the prelims as well. Either way, we move on to another fight that got announced recently, which was Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. This fight got announced 2 days ago. I thought, why not react to it? I haven't done so yet. I barely spoke about it in my streams either. I didn't want to put it in any titles of my streams because putting Hooker in the title seems to get my videos a little bit not on the healthy side of the algorithm. You know what I'm saying? But I believe that Dan Hooker's going to win this fight against Claudio Puelles. A really tough matchup for Dan Hooker. People are saying retirement fight for Dan and all this, and really retirement fight, terrible matchup, all of this and all of that. But in my opinion, I think Dan Hooker's got a solid chance here. I don't see Claudio Puelles being able to take him down, in all honesty. Guida was a guy who's, in hindsight, a good matchup for Puelles. He was going to try and get it to the ground, and then Puelles latched up the leg. But if you look at other fights with Claudio Puelles that he's had in his career, his stand-up is a massive problem. A massive, massive problem that he's had in a lot of his fights. And although he's got really good jiu-jitsu, it's not like if he gets you down, it's over. Now, he does have really good ability to finish Dan Hooker here because Dan Hooker has really long arms and legs. He's basically made to be submitted by people in a way because of how rangy he is. But Claudio Puelles, young guy, I understand. But Chris Gertesmacher took you till the third round to finish that one out, and it was sloppy until then. Are we remembering these other performances that Claudio Puelles has had in his career? I don't think people are. So if Dan Hooker is in any way disrespected by the odds and made to be an underdog in this matchup, I am cashing on that all day long. Dan Hooker is a step above the rest of these guys. And arguably, Chris Gertesmacher was winning that fight in the third round. He was starting to do really well. The second round was really close. He was landing a lot of total strikes. Puelles won the first round, but he in no way looked good on the feet. And that's Chris Gertesmacher, who took this guy to the third round. Claudio Puelles failed 7 of 8 takedowns that he tried in that fight. Eventually, Gertesmacher took him to the ground and ended up getting submitted. I don't see Dan Hooker shooting a takedown. I don't see him being taken down against Claudio Puelles. And in a big moment in Claudio Puelles' career here, in the biggest fight of his career as a young guy, I can see the moment kind of getting to him. He looked amazing against Clay Guida. I'm not taking that away from him. But in hindsight, that was a perfect scenario. You know what I'm saying? Clay Guida tried to take him down, ended up in a scramble, ended up getting his leg taken and got submitted. It is what it is. It happens. You know what I'm saying? A knee bar from half guard. But I do believe that Dan Hooker is going to get this one done. Let's not forget Claudio Puelles went to a razor close decision with Jordan Levitt where he barely got the decision. He went to another decision at least against Marcos Mariano, which wasn't a really interesting fight whatsoever. And he got beaten by Martin Bravo in his debut by KO. So he's KOable. He's susceptible on the feet here and there. I see this as like a Nasrat Haqparast level fight with different dangers for Dan Hooker. He's more of a ground type guy, whereas Nasrat's more of a basic boxer. So I'm going to go with Dan Hooker getting this one done. I think the people that he's lost to are nothing to scoff at, and I think he can beat this level of opponent. Tough matchup for him, of course, because it's an up-and-comer, and who knows how he's going to look on fight night, but I trust Dan Hooker to get this one done. He doesn't have to worry on the feet as much, which means he's going to be more comfortable trying to stuff the takedowns. I got Dan Hooker winning this one by second or third round TKO, in all honesty, over Claudio Puelles. We move on to another fight up the card. Or not up the card, another fight that got announced recently, which is going to be Edmen Shahbazyan versus Dalcha Lungiambula at UFC 282. Very interesting matchup to make for Shahbazyan. I reckon Shahbazyan's going to win, but it's risky. It's really risky for him because Dalcha is an extremely powerful guy. And, yeah, people are like saying, why do they want to save this kid so bad? Because he's young and he's got potential. I wouldn't have made this matchup, in all honesty. But I would go with Edmen Shahbazyan here, getting this one done against Dalcha, being a little bit more crisp on the feet early on. But if they massively disrespect Dalcha in the odds, he's got power early on, and he could find that chin. So we'll see how it goes. However, Edmen, I watched him walk down Brad Tavares and finish him off, so I'm going to trust him to do that again. We got Michael Johnson versus Mark Diaz. I'm going to be going with Mark Diaz out grappling him. At a different time, this would be a great scrap on the feet. In this current time, Mark Diaz's been grappling non-stop, so I think he's just going to grapple against Michael Johnson and make it a terrible, boring fight. Jake Hadley, Carlos Candelario. Hadley gets this one done by submission, in my opinion, is what I'm thinking there. Candelario seemed to have a little bit of trouble on the ground in his last fight, so I see Hadley getting that one done, being a bit of a big brother there. I think Julian Marquez could beat Deron Winn. Deron Winn's a fat midget. And then we move on to another fight that got made, which was Carlos Ulberg versus Nikolai Negumereanu. I'm going to go on the underdog there, in all honesty. He's got great cardio and he can push. But Ulberg has got that power and he can make it technical and he can catch him early on. But Nikolai Negumereanu's got a very underrated chin, and I can see him pushing for a late finish here against Carlos Ulberg by mixing in some of that grappling as well. Tough matchup for Ulberg. I'll take the underdog. If Nikolai Negumereanu ends up the underdog, I'll take it over Ulberg, in my opinion. But very tough matchup. Maybe Ulberg will make those improvements. So I don't know who to go with here. Nikolai Negumereanu's been looking great, in all honesty. And he lasted way better against Nizhachukwu than Ulberg did. So he's got much better cardio. We move on. Jamie Mullarkey versus Magomed Mustafayev. I'm leaning towards Magomed Mustafayev because he's so underrated in this division. The guy finished Rafael Fiziev. He's had great scraps in the UFC against Brad Riddell as well. I really do believe he's going to have a good chance here against Mullarkey. I was not impressed by Mullarkey against Michael Johnson. And I don't think he should be able to be like... I don't think he should be able to be turning around this quick after a war against Michael Johnson either, that arguably he couldn't have won. So, yeah, looking forward to that. We've got Jack Shaw versus Kyler Phillips as well. This is a big deal. I'm actually going to go with Jack Shaw over Kyler Phillips. I think Ricky Simone is one of the most underrated fighters on the entire roster. And I think people are joking around, saying this and saying that. He lost to Ricky Simone. I picked him to lose to Ricky Simone when Ricky Simone was the underdog. You should have listened if you were watching that video. But yeah, Jack Shaw is very good still. Extremely good. And I know Kyler Phillips was kind of messing around with Howley and Paver, but I still don't like how he gave up top position against Howley and Paver in the second and third round. I don't care how hard he was going in the first, to where it justifiably should have been a 10-8 round. You shouldn't be gassing out when Paver steps in on short notice like that, to where you're losing the second and third. I'm worried about an extended grappling match between Jack Shaw and Kyler Phillips, where Jack Shaw is just defensively aware enough on the feet to keep out of the way of some of the dangerous stuff that Kyler Phillips goes for. Maybe land a couple of jabs, couple leg kicks, keep moving, stay safe, and then find that grappling moment where he's going to stick to Kyler Phillips like glue and wear him out, where Kyler Phillips is going to have to try and defend some takedowns. Maybe Phillips is going to make it a tough fight, but I think as the fight goes on, Jack Shaw's had 5-round experience at Cage Warriors. I think that's going to come into play, and I can see Jack Shaw getting like a third round rear naked choke against Kyler Phillips here. Yeah, grapplers aren't Kyler Phillips' favourite thing, so I'm going to go with Jack Shaw getting this one done by submission in the later rounds. We move on to another fight, which is Muslim Salikhov, Andre Fialho. It's a great matchup. It's a really great matchup. Does Muslim Salikhov have enough power early at this point in his career to get it done? I don't know. So if Andre Fialho's the underdog or evens, I'm going to take Andre Fialho here. I like Andre Fialho. I think Jake Matthews is literally on another level now at this point in his career, so I think we need to cut Andre Fialho some slack. Jake Matthews literally came back in Ultra Instinct mode against Andre Fialho, so I think a lot of people at welterweight would have lost to Jake Matthews on that night. And also Jake Matthews is a guy who's beaten Li Jingliang, so he's a very good fighter. But Muslim Salikhov lost to Li Jingliang recently, got KO'd in the second round very recently as well. That's a big factor when it comes into this. He's turning around right back around after being KO'd at 38 years of age. 38, just got KO'd, turning right back around into training camp. I don't like this. I don't like this for him at all. He made it too close against Francisco Trinaldo. He arguably should have lost to Eliezer Zaleski dos Santos. And Andre Fialho, even though he's been a guy who's been very active, he's given it enough time. He's given it enough time for him to take some time off, develop his game a little bit more. He trains at Sanford. He's a younger guy. He's going to make those improvements. And I feel as though he's going to get this one done against Muslim Salikhov, probably by KO early in a fun scrap back and forth. Does he get KO'd now and again? Yes, but I don't think Muslim Salikhov's really going to have it anymore. So I'm going to trust in the dog of Andre Fialho to win out in a firefight between them. 28 years of age, still got time to improve. And, yeah, he hasn't been in there since June, so he's had he's going to have about 5.5 months off by the time this fight comes around, which I think is an okay amount of time compared to just under 4 months from Muslim Salikhov. So, yeah, interesting stuff. I think Fialho gets it done. Great matchups have been made, and I'm really glad the UFC's making these fights. Toodle pip, see you later, goodbye. Kevin Holland wins, though, and so does Dan Hooker. Toodle pip. See you later.